Sechta Shvuos, the Chav Gimel Amar Aleph, we're starting from the Mishnah on Chav Beis Amid Beis on the bottom of the Yamin. Zok the Mishnah, one who says Shvuos Shlo Yechal, he makes a Shvuos that he's not going to eat V'ach V'shas, and he ate and he drank. Ein Chayv Ela Chatas Achas. He's only going to be Chayv one Chatas because in the Achila, the Shti is included in the Achila. Shvuos Shlo Yechal Shlo Yeshta, if he made a separate Shvuos for Achila and Shti, he made a sure I'm not going to eat, I'm not going to drink. And then he had to drink. Chayv time is chayv too. A second dogma, if one gives a shur he's not going to eat, and he ate many minim, like pas chitim, or pas edim pas kusmin, wheat, bread, barley bread, spelt bread, he's only going to be chayv one chatz for all of them. But if he detailed in the shur shlo yechal pas chitim, if he detailed in the shore each one of the pas, then and he had to eat it, then the halacha is he's going to be chayv for each and every one. So a dogma shlishi, a third dogma, he makes a shur that he's not going to drink. Vishas he drank, mashkan having many different mashkais, many different drinks, and he's only chayv one. Shvur shlo yashta yain v'shem u'devash. But what's in his shvur, he specified that he's not going to drink wine, oil, and honey. V'shas, and he drank from all of them. He's going to be chayv for each and every one. Mishnah explains shvur shlo yechal v'achal. If he made a shvur that he's not going to eat, and he ate food that is not fit to eat, like dirt, v'shas mashkin sheinu l'ishtia, or he had drank drinks that are not fit to drink because they're disgusting. Potter, he's potter because he wasn't on the shvur. Because when he made the shvur, he's not going to eat or drink only those that are fit, only those foods that are fit to drink and those drinks that are fit to drink. Not something, not earth, which is not shy to drink, or let's call the drink was gasoline. It's not something that you drink. He made a shvur that he's not going to eat. And he ate nevelos v'teiv seshkatzim ramashim chayev. He's chayev because mitzad atzman deroyla achila. Only it's asim in atayda. It's like we said before, the mashal, like a lion is standing there, not letting him eat that. But b'poel mamish be'etzim it's fit to eat, and therefore he's going to be chayev for the achila, even though it's asim. If Shimon Peter, if Shimon says no, he's part of it. He's not chayv for being over the shvur because he's already mushba behemoth. He's already sworn mahasinai not to eat. Nevelos v'teiv shkatzim ramashim. Dr. Mishnah Amar Kari Mishnah Ishti Nanisli that my wife should not be able to have enough of me like the is of a carbon. Ima chalta yem if I eat today, u'achani ate. Nevelos v'teiv shkatzim ramashim harei ishte yisuda. If he ate the nevelos v'teiv shkatzim ramashim, his wife becomes us to have any enough from him. Dr. Barab Rab Chiv Rabav Namashmol. Shvur shlo yechal. He made a shvur that he's not going to eat v'shasa, and he drank instead of eating. Chayiv is still chayiv. Ibay saying svara, Ibay saying mikra. Others say it's a svara, others say it's a pasuk. Ibay saying svara. There are those that say it's a svara. It's like when a person says to his friend, let's go and taste of food. And then they go into the house, and not only do they taste the food eating, they eat, drink. So you see, the lashon yadim is that the drink is including in eating. Tesa says, obviously, this that we need another pasuk is because the svara is not strong enough. Others say it's a pasuk. Sheshtiya b'chlal achiyah. That shtiya is included in achiyah. Damar Eishlak Spara. Eishlak Shet said, "V'nayim l'shtiya shi b'chlal achiyah." How do we know that drinking is included in achiyah? Like it says in the pasuk. When you get to Ma'aseh Shenim that you have to bring up to Yerushalayim and eat it there, it says v'achalta l'fnei Hashem Elokecha. You should eat it before God. You got b'makmasha yibcha in the place that I will choose l'shak mishmei shmam, to rest my name over there. Ma'aseh the Ganchas Reisha. So what do we see? The Sireish, it says Reisha, Sireish Chamru. Sireish that says in the Torah there is wine, and it says Uchsiva Chalta, it says Lashon Achila. So you see, Shti is included in Achila. Like what if Dilma? No, maybe perhaps it's va'achalt ha'idei anigroin. It's talking about that it was beet juice and it was the derech to put in a flavor of wine. Damar Rabbi Shmuel anigroin. What is anigroin? Maya de silki. It's a tafshil. It's a gekechs of beets. And they would add wine to have a taste of wine. Achsigrain, maya de kulu silke shilke. And achsigrain is a tafshil of other different vegetables, in which they would mix in wine. So how do you know maybe it's referring to achila, the wine which was mixed in achila in these soups. Rather, Rabbi Yaakov says from here. It says you shall give money in all those things that you desire, that your money could buy. Babaka, cattle, let's say, wine and beer. So you see yayin, it says yayin v'sheicha, chamra, which is yayin. Chamra, yayin is wine. Uksi v'achalta, and it says you should eat it there, v'achalta. So you see that wine, drinks, are included in the achila. You want to know, maybe perhaps over there, here in the pasuk also, the yain is talking about the achila. So they used the yain just as a flavor. In the beet juice, they would add a flavor of wine. And for the Gemara Sheikha, it says in the pasuk Sheikha. And the lashon sheikh is meaning the meshake. It could only be something that can make somebody shikir, and that could only be wine. And it says v'achalta, and it says lashon achila. So you see, a drink is including achila. But Dilma, perhaps dveila kilos. Maybe it is a food. It's a date in which it comes from the city of Kiles, and it was very strong. It would make a person shikar, and that's eating. The Tanya, like we learned, achal dveila kilos. Dveila, if he ate a fig from the place called kilos, which is very strong, and he drank honey and milk. When and he went into the mikdash while it was shikar, they did the aveda. Chayim is chayim malchus. So you see that it's sheikha is something that makes you shikar, and it could be referring to a food like the velas. And you want to know, we're going to learn out with a shava sheikha from nazir, from the yain sheikha yazir mal alam, just like by nazir. When it says sheikha, it means yayin wine. Avkan here by pasuk Ma'aser Sheni, when it says the word sheikha, yayin, it means wine, and only wine. By wine, only on its own could it be meshaka. Only when he drinks the wine. So, and the Torah writes the lashon achila. So you see, shti is included achila. Amar Rabba Apan Nami Tanina. I'll bring you a raya for the beginning of our Mishnah that shti is included in achila. It says Shavous layichal. He makes a sure that he's not going to eat. And he ate and drank. And he's only chayv one. Says the Gemara. So you see, the shti is part of achila. That's why he's chayv one. If you're going to say shti is included in achila, it's a leila tarash mina. That's why the Mishnah had to come and teach us, even though it's two, he's eating and drinking. Then the chayv alachas, he's only going to be chayv one because the shti is part of achila. What if you're going to say drinking is not part of achila? One who makes sure that he's not going to eat, and he ate, and he did a malacha. So, does the Mishnah have to teach the chayv alachas? Here also, if drinking is not part of achila, what do I need a Mishnah that teaches that he's only going to be chayv one? It's self-understood. It says the Gemara. I'm going to show you a stira from the Hemshech of the Mishnah. Abaye said to Rabbi Elamai, what was on your mind? Shti b'chal achila. That shti is part of achila. Amalei Abaye said back to Rabbi Elamai. Only, what are you going to say? Shti b'chlal achila? The shti is part of achila. Ema sefer, it says in the sefer. Nahem shchav the mishnah, shvur shalai yechel shalai yashta. One who makes a shvur that I'm not going to eat, I'm not going to drink. He ate and he drank, even though he did both of them with a helam echad. Chayiv shnaim is chayiv for both, for each and every one. So since he already said I'm not going to eat, it's a levishtiyah. He already became also from drinking. Now that he says he's not going to drink and he ate and he drank, am I chayiv? Why should we be chayiv? If a person says I'm not going to drink twice, he's going to be chayiv twice? No, because it's already a shvur that he already made. You can't. The second shvur cannot be chal. So how when he says lo yechal, which includes drinking, and then he says shlei yashta, why should he be chayiv for the second one for drinking if the shtiyah was part of akila? It was already part of the first shvur. Amalei, Rabbi says back to Abai, possible, but the Mishnah, our Mishnah is talking about the Amma. First he says shlei yashta. He said I'm not going to drink. Then he said he's not going to eat. The shtiyah achila is he says shtiyah is included in achila. Achila b'chlal shtiyah leisa, but eating is not included in drinking. And since he started off with saying I'm not going to drink, the achila was not part of it. And then he said I'm not going to eat. So there are two separate choices. But if he first said he's not going to eat and not going to drink, and then he ate and drank, what's going to be the din? He's only going to be chayiv one. If so, when we learned at the beginning of the Mishnah, the Ashur, I'm not going to eat, and the Mishnah says if he ate and drank, and he's only going to be chayiv one. Listening, learn a bigger chiddush in the case that he's only going to be chayiv one chatas. He made a double shvur. He made first the shvur shlo yechal, which includes already drinking, and then he said shlei yashta, which is not a separate shvur. And that second shvur is nothing, because ain't shvur chalal shvur. Ain't a chayv alachas. That's what the Mishnah should have been mechadish, that he's only going to be chayv one. Because ken shlei yechal l'chudei. And how much shvur, so if he would have said lo yechal alone, he's only going to be chayv one. Rather, we're going to say, it's talking about, he said first, lo yechal, and then he said lo yashta. We had the kasha, how could it be a second chatos? It's already, the loy yashta is not a second shvur. It was included in the loy oichal. It says this case is different. Give me the amash loy oichal. Since he said I'm not going to eat, and then he said he's not going to drink. Gali daiter da achila da ama achila geidosehi is a revelation that when he said l'chatchila shloy oichal, his intention was only for achila, not including drinking. He makes a shvur, I'm not going to eat. And he had eaten foods which are not royal achila, or he drank drinks that are not royal to drink. Let's say it was gasoline, potter, he's going to be potter. So he can apply from here. But if he would have drank a mashkin uyin, chayiv, he would have been chayiv. Why would he be chayiv on the mashkois, on the drinks? He said ashur that he's not going to eat, and he didn't say I'm not going to drink. Is a raya from here that shtiyah is bechal achila. So he brought another raya. Shlagdav, you want to know? Dilma dama tarti. Maybe in our Mishnah this raya is not a raya that shtiyah is included in achila. Perhaps the pirish of the Mishnah is that he swore two shvuos, shvuos shloi eichel, shvuos shloi yashta. He made two shvuos. Only the Mishnah was mekatz and its lashon, and only mentioned the first shvur. But if Take, he would have only said shvur shloi eichel, he wouldn't be chayv al hashtiyah. So how do you have proof shtiyah is b'chal achila? You don't. Says not from that part of the Mishnah. But quotes another part of the Mishnah. Shvur shloi eichel v'achal. He made sure he's not going to eat, and he ate all kinds of different breads, mini in one helam. Paschitin. He ate wheat bread, barley bread, spelt. He's only chayv one chatz for all of them. But if he said shvur shleichel paschitin or paschitin or paskosmim, if he specified all the minim that he's not going to eat, then he's chayv for each and every one. How do you know he meant to say a separate shul for each min? Maybe he's only coming to be mat himself, mat himself to eat sham min eichlin, because if he would have said stam shloi eichel without specifying, then all machalim would have been asa. By specifying these three, so it allows him to eat other machalim. Maybe that's what other minim. So if you want to have a leila meima, so then the Mishnah should have said bekitzer shloi eichel chitin u'sayda bekusmin. Why does he have to say pas chitin, pas seidin, and pas kusmin? Is a raya that he had in mind that the shvud should be chal on each min separately. In fact, you might have held with Dilma, maybe he added the word pas in order you shouldn't make a mistake. To think that he asked himself lachos to chew it even raw before it becomes pas. If he wouldn't say pas, I would have said it means only the chewing the way it is, the kernels as they are, not before the pas. And it will be mutter as pas. That's why you have to say pas, to say even as pas, it's going to be asa. He's taking an oath that it should be asa. So if you want to have a leima, then he should have said, shloi eichel pas chitin once, and then say, usaydim ekusmin, bread of wheat, barley, and spelt, without adding the extra words pas by each min. So from this that he added the word pas by each min, we can understand he wanted to be meyach dashvul for each min. In fact, you want to know, Dilma perhaps pas chitin lecho b'sa'idnu v'kusmin. Perhaps if he would have said it in that way, I would have said that the pas is only by chitin. He only asked himself as a form of bread by wheat, but by certain kusmin lachis, even just to chew the way it is. Says he wanted to have a leila meima pas chitin vishal certain vishal kusmin. If he meant to say as passed by all three minim, he should have said vishal certain vishal kusmin, the pas chitin of chitin and of certain and of kusmin and of spelt. Says you want to know maybe he said this lashon that he didn't ask himself only bread which was mixed with the three minim together, with wheat, spelt, and barley. But individually, I would say he didn't ask himself. So it says, if he meant to say a separate minim, he should have said, pas chitin, and then say, pas lamali. What do I need the extra word pas by serim and kusmin? Shmami knows that I from here lechale, that he meant to make an individual shvur for each min. The Gemara now mentions the Hamshach of the Mishnah, shvur shlo yeshta. He gives a shvur that he's not going to drink v'shasa mashkahabe. He drank many different types of drinks. He's only going to chayv one. But if he says shvur shlo yeshta yayin v'shemen udvash, and he drank from all three, then he's chayv for each one. Says Gemara b'shleim hasam. It was understood that we understood that it's a shvur for each and every one, because he said the extra word because he said pass by each one. So that's how we knew it's a shvur for each and every one on its own. But over here, in our case, where he swore he's not going to drink wine and oil and honey, how could he emphasize that it should be a shvur for each one? Perhaps he only had in mind that the minimum of drinks he's asking are the shemen, yayin, shemen, and dvash. Here it's talking about the three minimum are right here in front of him, and we're saying shahaya, since these mashkais were in front of him, if he only had in mind only to be mata other minias mashkais other than these, he should have said, sure, I'm not going to drink these. He didn't have to specify the wine, oil, and dvash. But maybe he said it only mashkais elu hu delay shasina. He meant to say, only these that are in front of me, I'm not going to drink achri shasina. But other mashkais of the same mean, I will be mutter to drink. So he says, Eladama shvua lo shasina kigayin elu. So he says, he should have said, a shvua that I'm not going to drink these bini mashkois that are in front of me. So it's omitting the other mashkois of the same minimum to drink. He's answering himself. So if you want to still no proof, Dilma, if you're going elu lo shasina, maybe he meant to say that going elu, the share of these, the amount that it adds up to, that's the amount that I'm not going to drink. But but if it's more than the amount that's in front of us, or less than the amount, I will drink. Ella, only the reason is because he should have said, Ashua, I'm not going to drink from these categories that are in front of me. So if he would have said that, so why did he have to say Shaman Zayis? Yain Shaman Zayis. Maybe he meant to say, from these mashkois that are in front of me, these drinks that are in front of me, I'm not going to drink. He meant to say, I'm not going to drink from this type of categories. I'm not meaning others from these type of categories that are in front of me. I'm not going to drink. But these mashkois that are here, I will drink. So the Gemara should have said, He says, I'm not going to drink these drinks that here are in front of me. And any mean that's similar, I'm not going to drink. And he didn't have to say Yain Shemen Udvash. So the Gemara Avacha, Breida Aveka, Oma, B'Mesare, B'Yachavei, Askinan, that the Mishnah is talking about that his Chava was pushing him to come and drink with him, and he asked himself with a shvur not to eat from his friend. He said to his Chava, he says to him, come drink with me wine, oil, and honey. So he should have answered with Kitzer, without specifying. This is another teretz Avach is giving. Another reason, another proof that he meant to see a shvur on each one. Because if the whole purpose is not to drink with his friend, he should have said, why did he have to say, why did he have to specify wine, oil, and honey? If all he wants is to avoid from drinking with him, obviously by specifying, he meant to say a shvur on each one of them separately, to tell you that he's going to be chai for each and every one, and it's going to be considered as if he made a shvur for each min. For the yayin, shaman, and vash. We learned later on in the following Mishnah on Lamed Vav Amud Beis, Benegei Yishua Sapikadin, one who says to his friend, give me back my wheat, barley, and spelt, which I have given to you to hold as a pikadin. And he lied, and he said, he made a shvur that he has nothing. He's only going to be chayiv one. But if he made a shvur that I don't have in my hand, not the wheat or the barley or the spell, he's going to be chayiv for denying each one, for being over a shvur on each one. He says even if it's one pruta that he only, where we know the only time that he's going to be chayiv if there was a shear of a pruta, right? And the only way you're going to have a pruta from all of them together, the only way you're going to add up to a pruta is if you'll be mitzvah all the chitun serim and kusmim, the 3 minim together. Mitzvah it does combine to the shvua at the mechayim b'karban. Zag Gemara pligi bar Avach v'Ravina. We have a machlekes Avach v'Ravina. Chad Amar. One says aprat mechayim akol lo mechayim. What does that mean? Here we're talking about there were really sort of 4 shvuos. He says shvua the she'el chabiyadi. Number 1, the shvua he doesn't have anything, and then the shvua for the she'el chabiyadi. Chitin, Se'irin, and Kusmin. So these are additional 3. So the shaila is the shvur she'en chabiyad is considered as a 4th shvur. So, one says he's only going to be chayiv for the pratim, for the chitim sedim yakusmim, but for the general shvur shein lecha biyadi, he's not going to be chayiv anything. That's talking about when he made detailed shvuis for the chitim sedim and kusmim in the sefer, where he didn't make a separate shvur, so of course he's not going to be chayiv till there's a pruta in combination with all three, and you could combine. And the other one argues and says that you're chayiv not only for the detailed ones, the chitim sedim and kusmim, which is three, but he's also going to be chayiv for the general one where he said a shvur shein lecha biyadi. So the Gemara, Hachamai, what's going to be the din in the gay where he says he's not going to eat pas chitim usa'edin or pas kusmim? What's the din if in such a case are we going to consider it as the shvur shloi oichel as a shvur on its own, a shvur klalis, and the chitim usa'edin kusmim will be additional three shvuis? Just like by the Pikadin, Rava said, how could you compare these two cases? Hasan by Shvus Pikadin, Mechayva Klola or Mechayva Prata. He's Chayv Sayakum on the general Shvur. He says, En Chabi Yadi, and Sai on the details of the Shvur, Chit Nusainu Ukisme. Dahid Mishlaba, Had Mishlaba, because by Pikadin, if he was Taveya, and he was Kaifa, and he swore the Shaka, and then he was Chayzav Taveya, and he denied and swore falsely, Mechayv Tata, he's going to be Chayv for each and every time. Hacha, Isa Katayt Chisa Beklala. Here, if it's going to enter your mind that the Shvur Klalish, Shloi Lechel, is a prat by Mechayv. If you're going to say that the Shvur Klalish of Shloi Lechel is Chal, so why should it be even chayiv for the prati? If he made us the shvur shalei lechol, it already includes anything. So by saying chitin, sa'idim, and kusmim is like making another shvur on a shvur, because the shvur close, if that's considered as a shvur that I'm not going to eat, it included already the chit and sedim and kusma. And now he makes another shvur. He's not going to eat chit and sedim and kusma. That's you make ain't shvur halal shvur. Musma v'ayimatu. He's already under the shvur klali. Obviously, we don't consider the shvur klali as a shvur. Zok the Gemara from the Mishnah shvur shloi eichel. He makes a shvur he's not going to eat, and he ate food that's not fit to eat, like the earth or drinks that's not fit to drink. So he's not going to be chayiv because he only had in mind for edible food and edible drinks. In fact, you want to go for kasha. This in itself is a kasha. We have a state in the Mishnah. He just said if he makes a shvur, he's not going to eat ve'achal, and he eats food that are not fit to eat. Or he drank drinks which are not fit to drink. Other Tani, and then he said in the Mishnah, if he says shvur shalayichal v'yachal nevelas treifas shkatzim u'ramashim chayiv, even though they're us to drink, ma'ishna reish the pot, ma'ishna sefer the chayiv. Why in the reish he said he's pot, it's not part of the shvur, and in the sefer if he ate nevelas treifas which are us to eat, he's going to be chayiv. But you want to lay kasha? That's not a kasha. Reish is stop. The reish where he was stam shalayichal and he didn't specify that he's going to ask the nevelas treifas that which are not real achila. So mistama he had in mind, he didn't have in mind lishaba on something that's not real achila. So they're not part of the shvur. They save him in the farish, but in the second, in the Bryce where he says it's chayiv, he befeda said it, he made a shvur. In the shvur he added the word shloi eichel nevelas treifas. In such a case, Taka will be yasa. In fact, the Gemara, Even where he specifies, meaning the Sefer of the Mishnah, where he specifies, Amai, why should he be Chayiv? Mushba, Mehasinehu. It's why should he be Yoiv on the Shua? Eating the Beis HaTevis is already Asur Minatera. So you can't be Chal, you can't add another Isa of Shua on the Isa of the Beis HaTevis, which is already Mushba Veinat. Like you want to have a Shmuel Rabbi Yechni Amri. Rav and Shmuel Rabbi Yechni, all three answered the Koilel. It's talking about that the Shua was a Koilel. When he said he's not going to eat, it was including even those things that the bottom are mutarim, even those things that are mutter. So with that, he included in that, then the Shua could be Chal in Dvarim HaAsurim, even with those things that are Asur. So when somebody's nishba b'feish that is not going to eat Dvarim HaMutarim, and the Beis HaTevis, so the Shua was already Chal, once it was Chal on the Dvarim HaMutarim, so that it's also Chal on the Macholas HaAsuris. A second answer, Reish Lakish Amar, you can't find a case that the Shua should be Chal on Macholas HaAsuris, Elohim Mefarish Chatzi Shia. Only if he swore b'feish that he's not going to even taste less than the Kazayas. So less than the Kazayas is Mutter. So once it was Chal on that, so it could be Chal even on the Kazayis. V'alid Rabbanan. It goes according to the Rabbanan, who say that the one who was Nishmas Tam and Shelo Yoichal, then he only asks himself Achila when he says Shelo Yoichal, which is a Kazayis and above. Or Ibis Tam, or we could establish the Mishnah is talking about this. So therefore we have to say he said the Feish in his Shua Chatzi Shir, that he's not going to eat Chatzi Shir. Ibis Tam, or we could talk about Stam. He said he's not going to eat Alim Rabbi Akiva and follows Rabbi Akiva. And the Amma Adam Oisa Atzma B'Choshu, that a person asks himself even something that's less than the shear. So once that the shvua is chal on less than the shear, then it's chal on the macholis isuris, because on less than the shear, he's not mushba b'eimet. In fact, Rabbi Yishleim, Rabbi Yechleim, Reish Lakish, it's understood why Rabbi Yechleim doesn't learn like Reish Lakish, the book of Leil Master is going to be Akil. Because he rather established the Mishnah like Rabbi Akiva and Rabbana. What was the reason that Reish Lakish didn't answer like Rabbi Yechleim, that is talking about that he included the Dvarim HaMutarim with the Dvarim HaAsurim, and since it was Chal on Adava Mutar, it's Chal on Adava Asur. Amalach, Reish Lakish will answer you, Ki Amin in Isa Kelo, when do we say the din of Isa Kelo, that it's Chal even on the Isa Be'isa B'Me'elav? Only when the second Isa is a Isa that the Torah had answered, but if what kind of a Isa that's not totally in the mice of a person, like a behemoth that died before Yom Kippur, and it became Asma Achila because of Loisechel Kol Nevela. And when Yom Kippur enters, that's a Isa B'Me'elav. So it's Neseres B'Achila also Mishum Mitzayim. So you have a double Isa. Yom Kippur you're not allowed to eat, and it's also of Nevela. So since Yom Kippurim came in, and Yom Kippurim came in and asked us to eat behemoths shchutes, it asked even behemoths which are mutter to eat, which are gishachen. So it's chal also on the nevelas. But by Isa haba yidei ma'isa adam. But by Isa that comes to the ma'isa of a person, you're going like a shvua that is chal because of his dibur. That's you're creating the Isa. Lo yamin, and then we don't say your creation of the Isa of shvua that you created is not going to be chal on something that's already asur.